Friday to you all, and welcome to Untangling Societal Norms, a reminder that well behaved women rarely live their best lives. I am so pumped and excited, and I want to say thank you to everybody who is joining live from wherever you are in the world. I'm just excited to have this real, raw, natural conversation with my partner in crime, Lillian DeVries. Before we get started, yes, hi. I wanted to just quickly introduce myself, and I'll turn it on over to you, Lillian, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
But let's get the party started, shall we?
Yeah. Well, before we even start, let's find out in the chat where you guys, joining us from. What part of the world are you from? Add your comments in there. We'd love to know where you're coming from.
Absolutely. Yes. Okay. All right. So a little bit about me. My name is Sarah Zagilla. I am an HR professional by day, which means I get to help and make a positive influence on HR challenges in small to mid-sized businesses. But more than that, I'm a wife, I'm a dog mom, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm an aunt, I'm a mentor, I'm a friend, but I'm a woman. And I'm a woman who has been influenced and has felt certain types of pressures from society, whether spoken or unspoken. And over the course of my life, that has made me feel a particular way. And those pressures kind of bubbled up and came out of my life. And that's what led me to you, Lillian, my coach for over 2+ years. And you've helped me unpack some really great things, learn some new techniques to try to live my best life and live a life for me. So that is who I am. That's how I got to this conversation. Lillian, what about you?
Yeah, thanks for that, Sarah. Sarah's a star client. I got to tell you, I mean, working with Sarah, you've been just dynamite. People who show up, and I call you one of my, favorite clients as the unstoppable woman. So that's what I do. That's what I coach unstoppable women who are struggling sometimes alone to figure it out, and they don't need to do it alone. So that's my thing. So I am so excited to be here with you, Sarah. Yeah, this is so exciting. Just doing a 6-part series that really matters because we've talked about this over the couple of years that we've been working together. About how well behaved we all are as women, and we're conforming to the norms, and we don't even question it. That's the thing, is we've just fallen into this trap of doing things and not even knowing why we're doing them.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited today to do this. And so let me just talk about, I'm a dog mom too, but I'm married and have 2 grown children, and I have 3 grandchildren. So it's a busy home, and I live with my husband, of course, but my mother lives with us, 102 years old, and she's still going at it. And she says the secret is red wine. So, we've got to follow her path.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I think we've got a lot to bring to the table here. And I think there's a lot of women out in the world who are very much like us, who maybe feel stress, pressure, anxiety, kind of struggle sometimes. And we just want to open up this conversation to women to let them know that they're not alone, that we're all here, we're all the same. And maybe to more empower each other and lift each other up instead of tear each other down. That's my main goal of this whole entire conversation. So let's get into it, shall we? Let's
Absolutely.
start the episode. Episode 1 is called Ditching the Dollhouse, Disturbing That Good Girl Image. And if there is one image that I have maintained for the 42 years of my life, it has been the good girl image. From a very early age, I think I was kind of raised to be kind, be polite, make sure I'm taking care of a lot of people, just kind of, not make any waves, stay small, help others. And that pressure over many, many years led me to be a self-destructing, people-pleasing perfectionist. That's how I labeled myself, quite honestly.
Say that again, Sarah.
I was a self-destructing, people-pleasing perfectionist. And I was miserable. I was lonely. I was swimming in a lot of self-doubt. I was bubbling over in shame. I felt lost. I felt confused. And I felt like I was on a hamster wheel of insanity. And I just right before I turned 40 years old, I had pretty much like given up and said, I don't want to live like this anymore. And that's really when you and I connected and we started thinking about the idea of talking about a TED Talk and all of these new dreams and aspirations that I had. And I think my best friend even said to me, Hey, Sarah, you're really great at what you do in work, but what are your hobbies? What are the things that you enjoy? What are the things that you value? What are the passions that you want to explore? And she made me like go, oh, what is that? I had zero hobbies at the time. I had zero things for fun. And so that is how I came here. And that's what prompted this now conversation with you. And you've helped me go through a lot of different techniques and processes and exercises and systems. And here I am, a much more stronger, confident, empowered human being, ready to tackle my passions and dreams. And you've been so great at that, Lillian, and helping me. And I want to be able to pass that along to somebody else. So that's a brief background of my story. Let's hear yours.
Yeah, and I just before we go into mine, Sarah, just give us, what are the passions that lately you have stepped into big time? I think you need to share that.
I think I started frequenting my local Zumba studio a lot more, and I was this like Zumba wallflower, and I ended up just really falling in love with it because I was encouraged by a really awesome instructor. And most recently became a licensed Zumba instructor myself. So on top of all of the other things I'm doing, I just cinched my first gig as a new instructor, and I can't wait to start. That starts on July 8th. And so exercise, fitness, speaking, this series, working with you, my HR job, it's just been really great. Like all of these things are blossoming in my life.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
impacted your relationships. It's impacted your health.
Yep.
You stopped smoking, like
Oh,
all those, like, there's so many things that you've won at. So I really want to make sure that we hold that high,
I
because
appreciate
it's not, those are not small feats,
it.
right?
Yeah.
And I know that somebody did ask us a question about smoking. Well, we might not get to it this episode, but yeah, we will get to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for that. Yeah. Where does my life start? Where did my life start? When I had the kids that were small, and I was really stressing. I was working as a nurse. I had become a recent, a new coach. And things were not good. And, when you talk about societal norms, I was in that place of my weight wasn't good. So I wasn't healthy, and I didn't fit into the body image that everybody else thought I should have. I didn't fit into the people pleasing, being that nurse, that caregiver, and giving to my family, and constantly giving, and I wasn't giving to myself.
Yeah.
And the way I was handling it was that I was really angry. I was angry with everyone. And my poor husband, who's, the dear man that he is today, he took the brunt of it. I was always blaming him for my unhappiness. I was blaming the kids. I was blaming my family, like my parents, who that I also was taking care of. So it was not a good place, and I didn't know what to do. And I remember taking the car and driving away for a couple of days and coming back to the same stuff, crying over the dishes. I don't know what it is about doing dishes with suds, but that's the great place to just cry on a Saturday morning when everybody else is sleeping. And then one day I just turned around and I said to my husband and my kids, I sat them down and I said, I am taking a 6-month sabbatical. I am taking a sabbatical from being a wife, a mom, a daughter, all the roles that I was playing, all those roles and responsibilities. I'd forgotten who I was. So I said, I'm moving out of the bedroom. Can you imagine my husband's face? Like, he must have been, well, he did say he thought we were heading for divorce at that point. But I just moved out of the bedroom, moved into another part of the house, and I did, my work. And we'll talk about more about that. But the point was that to do that took a lot of courage. And that's when, in the first half hour of those 6 months, I realized I had full permission to do this. And if I couldn't blame anybody, then the only person responsible for my happiness was me.
Yeah.
And holy cow, that was a big lesson. So,
And I certainly don't mean to cut you off at all, Lillian, but
no.
I think you reached a point And then I also reached a point where like that unhappiness, that anger, that maddening stress, that hamster wheel we were on, we were done with it. We were done with it,
Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
we needed to take control of our lives. And I think that's what most women struggle with. Would you agree? It's like making that decision, drawing the line in the sand and saying, I matter. So getting back to that good girl image where we have to be the nurturing person to everybody. We have to, make sure everybody is good to go, and we always tend to look at ourselves as the last person. Why do we do that? Why do we not think that we're not good enough, that we deserve that opportunity to take a stand for our own life? And I think that's what this episode is really all about,
Yeah.
taking a stand for what we want to do and looking inward, right?
Yeah.
And saying, what are my passions? What are my values? What are the things that I think about when I go to bed at night that I really want to do, that I don't really execute because I'm too busy working or thinking about other people? And I'm not discounting the women out there who have a family with, raising kids. I understand all of that.
Hmm.
But it starts with standing up for ourselves and saying, I deserve a half an hour a day. I deserve 45 minutes a day to start tapping into the things that matter to me. And I am worthy of that. And I deserve that.
And part of that is believing, first of all, that you deserve it. And
Yeah.
when you say, staying up at night or thinking about the things that we want to do, many, many women that I've worked with don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, it's really about defining, what are my values? What are my passions? What's my purpose in life? Like, who am I?
Yeah.
Who's the real person behind all that BS that I've been living?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Most
Yeah.
definitely.
So
Yeah.
true. And for people who are listening right now live, or if you're listening to the recording after, I'd like to ask you to just, put some comments in there to say yes, like just put yes if you're getting what we're saying. Add some comments of your own. What are your struggles? Where are you at? Or maybe even some lessons that you've learned along the way if you've been on the journey for a while, right? So please
Yeah.
join and make some comments. We're here for you. And questions, lots of questions.
Absolutely. And so I think some of the questions that we received ahead of time, specifically one, a friend of mine, Angela, she had asked, like, how do you go about starting your day in the right way to kind of like set the tone and lead a good day?
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that, and I was introduced to this model not too long ago called the 3S model. And before we tap into that, it first starts with how we're thinking about ourselves at night, right? As we're laying there and we're counting down all the things we didn't do or accomplish, we've got to change our mindset a tad. We've got to start thinking, tomorrow I'm excited about the day. Tomorrow I can't wait to get into work, and I can't, wait to start the day fresh and new, and have that be like what you sleep on. When we sleep on anxiety and stress, that tends to, bubble into the morning. And so the 3S model is changing what you see, what you smell, and the sounds that you hear. Right? So if you think about your morning, what do you do when your eyes peel up in the morning and you put your feet on the floor to get out of bed? What's the first thing we always grab? Our cell phone, right? Our cell phone is the first thing that we look, and so we're tapping into social media and we're scrolling through. And I'm a victim of this. I've done this many times, where I'm like doom scrolling and I'm looking at all the people and I'm starting to compare, and I'm starting to think, well, I don't have that, or I'm not doing that. And I would fall into this place of like jealousy and comparison, where I was like, oh, I'm just not making it in life. And if that's the first thought that I'm thinking of in the morning, then how the heck am I going to start the day in a positive way? I'm definitely not, right? Or the first thing I would do is turn on the news, right? So I would hear all of the negative media stuff, all the politics, all the garbage that's happening in the world. And I knew that I needed to shift things up. Or, just the sounds that I were hearing on the news, like in the background as I'm getting ready for my day. So I started to change things up. So instead of grabbing my phone right away, I would put a positive quote right there when I would wake up in the morning, and I would see that quote. to remind me that I am like ready to tackle something positive. And instead of turning on the news, I'd start a pot of coffee, I'd leash my beautiful, handsome golden doodle up, and we'd take a walk around the block. And I started my day with a walk, which meant I would be able to, smell and hear nature and see things and breathe in the fresh air, and then kind of collect my thoughts in a positive way, where I was able to just kind of organize my day in a healthy way, and then
Mm.
get back, come in, take a shower. And instead of listening to the news, I would put on some nice calming music. I'd light a candle. And before I was walking out the door, I had a much more uplifted approach. And I wasn't feeling so bogged down by the negativity of society, the news, social media, and all of the nasty garbage that can definitely infiltrate our brains in the morning. So that is my tip to you, Angela, and to anybody who's really wanting to start the day in a positive way. We've got to switch some things up. Get rid of that social media. Don't tackle that the first thing in the morning. There's a time and a place to be able to review emails, review social media. Take a half an hour for you. Start your day for you if you can. And if you have to get up for the kids, maybe set the alarm for 20 minutes before, so you can go walk around the block or something to do it for you, because you deserve that. What do you think, Lillian? What do you think about that?
Yeah, what you're talking about is really true intentions for the morning, which is exactly what I do the day before. As I say, what do I want tomorrow morning? So it's interesting. I kind of makes me think of a time when I wanted to, do the cold plunge like Tony Robbins. I wanted to do the meditation, like, all these people out there that are doing their thing, right?
Yeah.
And I wanted to do, okay, I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll do this. And I'd wake up in the morning, I think, I need like 3 hours to do all of this.
Yeah.
And thinking, no, what is my thing to do? So I let go of what everybody else was doing. And I said, what is my thing to do? What do I want to do tomorrow morning? So it's, the getting up is absolutely, I don't listen. I don't check social media. I don't check the news. If something's falling apart in the world, my 102-year-old mother will let me know.
Yeah.
So I can count on her.
Yes.
So I make the choice of what I want to surround myself with. And so I will go and even do like a course, like right now I'm doing the art of manifesting.
Okay.
So I do listen to somebody, then I do some meditative process and write down some notes. I'm always doing courses because I think that's the power of growing. Quietening the mind. When, we talked about when in the question for Angela, she asked about, mentally and physically. The mental part of it is being aware of the negative chatter we have in our brain. And this is something I teach, and I'll invite you all to a webinar on positive intelligence. But it's really about, who's the voice that's talking to me right now? Is it me? Or is it somebody that's judging me? Is it somebody that's saying, I must do this, I've got to do that? Because those are the societal norms that I'm falling into.
Yeah.
And I go, no, what do I want? And why am I doing this?
Yeah.
I look at myself in the mirror in the bathroom sometimes in the morning, and I say, okay, I'm doing this and this today. Why am I doing this today?
Yeah.
What is it doing? Is it helping somebody else? Is it helping me? Is it in service of something? If it's not, then I have to question.
Yeah.
And even if it's helping somebody else, I have to balance that and say, where do I fit in there? Yeah. Because one of the questions that came out was work-life balance. I think I'm trying to remember who asked the question here, but I'll address it anyway. It's that place of saying, how much of what do I want to do, and where do I fit into this? I always schedule the most important thing. I remember when I was working a 9-to-5 job or a 6-to-2 job, whatever, I would put that in the schedule. That was commitment. Okay. I had to be there. But then the second priority was always me. And then I would fit in when I could do things for the kids, when I could cook, when I could do other things. But I always came first after the commitment of work, which is, commitment to me anyway, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But it's always the intention. Where are we going through the day? And doing a daily intention is really clear. But doing it the night before, I'm at peace. I don't have to worry about, where do I have to be? Where do I have to go? It's okay. Like here we're early. We started at 7 a.m. my time.
Yeah.
So I got up at 5:30 and I knew what I needed to do. I
Yeah.
needed to sit down, have a conversation with my husband this morning. Just take the time. Permission.
Yes.
Don't look for anybody else's permission. Give yourself permission.
Yeah. And getting back to that whole idea of like Dollhouse, right? Getting,
Mhm.
you don't have to be so obedient. You don't always have to do other things for everybody else. You are worthy of doing things for yourself. And it is okay to communicate that to your partner. It is okay to communicate that to your team at work. It is okay to communicate that to your friends and your circle of trust and support. It is okay to say, I deserve to be here. I deserve to be at peace. I deserve to have calmness in my life. And I deserve to take the time for me. And so maybe that means not knowing your passions right at this moment, but at least taking that half an hour or that hour a day to say, I just want to sit and think about it. Like, what are the things that I want to accomplish? What are the things that I want to tackle?
Yeah.
And
You're
I
yeah.
didn't know that right away. I didn't know that. I was like, oh,
Mm.
I know I need to do some things, but I started to unpack that all, right? Whether that was actual therapy, to work on my mental health, and then getting into some physical health, trying to change the way that I was eating. I had given up smoking, so I needed to find something to do with all of that extra time that I had. And then just like exploring Zumba was so big for me because it was music. It was physical exercise. It was allowing me to like exercise the demons out in my brain and just go and sweat and hear that heart pumping music through my body. It was invigorating. And when I allowed myself to like do that on a consistent basis, I started to feel more free. I started to feel more alive. I started to feel more confident. And I started to feel like, oh my gosh, I've been on this hamster wheel for way too long. Why did I wait so long to give myself permission to be this human being? And that's been the journey so far. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what I'm hearing there is giving, and I just put it in the chat there. How many of you give yourself permission to dream? Take the time to dream, to say, no, I'm sitting down right now. I'm going to dream. It's okay to dream. How many of us actually do that? You know, I give myself full permission to dream. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Go to that place and say, what if? What if?
That brings me to a story that I remember, if you don't mind me sharing. But
Sure.
when I met my chief HR strategist in the role that I'm currently with now, when we met for breakfast, and she in her journal she wrote down this dream, the dream. What did she see? What was the vision for her company, and what was her vision, to kind of execute? And she inspired me by showing me that, like, here is her
Mm.
vision. And she kind of looked at me and said, can we make this happen? And I was hell-bent and I was excited and I was pumped to like start executing that dream. And we've been doing that together now for 5 years, or at least trying to anyways. And so sometimes just sitting on that dream and then pulling in your friends or your support system to help you execute that dream is really where the magic starts to happen. So my advice with that is, and the whole reason I'm just sharing that story is that when you have a dream and you have support, lean into that. Lean into that and ask your friends to help you, to guide you, to help execute that dream. Because I've got a support system at home. My wife is fantastic. My best friend is amazing. I've got you in my life. I've got excellent people at work who are in my life that encourage me and support me. It's all about who we surround ourselves with and who is in our corner and how we're going to get there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You got to surround yourself with the people who are going to help you. You
Yeah.
know, it makes me think of the old days. And even when I listen to some of my clients, I think back at, when we're feeling pain and struggling at work with people and our marriage and our whatever it is, right? All the struggles that we have, all the pains that we have, where do we go? Or even don't even think about the people. What kind of music do we put on? I mean, that 6 month sabbatical thing, I got
Yeah.
in the car and I was listening to Reba McEntire going, alone, living alone, you could be beside me, but I'm so alone. That kind of it was a country song. And I played that one over like 50 times and I'm going, why? Because she gets me. She understands me, right? Or I go into the lunchroom, and I bitch and complain about my boss because they get me, they understand me. And I do that every single day with the same people, and nothing changes. I just get reinforced of how miserable I am.
Yeah.
And how many of us out there have done that? How
No.
many of you, say yes, like you've either done that or you're doing that now?
Hmm. Yeah.
What, think about that. If I shifted and I shifted my friends and said, no, I don't want to be around the people who are going to listen to my whining. I want to be around the people who do something about it.
Yeah. Or I want to be around someone who's going to call me out on it.
Great
Like
point.
sometimes like misery just, loves that company. But I want the people I want in my life at this point are the ones who are going to say, Sarah, this isn't you. This is not your focus. This isn't your dream. Come on. Like you're better than that.
Yeah.
You don't, why are we feeling down on ourselves? You deserve more than that. You need to think better of yourself. And that's who I want to surround myself with.
Yeah.
People who
Yeah.
are encouraging me to want more for myself. Yeah. But we're guilty of it. We all do it. I've done it many a times, many a times.
Yeah. And I, one of the things I want to make sure that we're clear on here for everybody who's listening is, I did a 6-month sabbatical. Sarah has done this for, 2+ years working on herself in different things. We did not do every single thing differently overnight.
No.
One step at a time. What's one thing I can do differently? If it's just, getting up 15 minutes earlier, having a cup of tea with my spouse and, putting a flower on the table and just saying, I'm going to spend those 15 minutes precious time. That's like, wow, or doing the things for somebody else, like talking about, the no and the boundaries. I remember just a few weeks ago when I was just exhausted and I'm driving home and my husband calls me and he says, can you pick up some tomatoes, please? And I said, no, I can't. If you want to go out and get them when I get home, that's fine. But I just cannot. I'd be pushing myself, and you think it's just some tomatoes. Like, what's the big deal, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no, I had to say no because my body was saying no.
Yeah.
And I had to honor myself. How
Yeah.
many of you out there are actually able to say no? Have, the last time you remember saying no to somebody and not even having to justify it. That's the thing too, is that we think we have to have a great explanation or lie so that we can, be given permission.
Oh, I was so guilty. I was like, sure, pile it on. Tack it on over here. Oh, I got you. Absolutely, please. And I
Yeah.
think I was, sometimes in my life, I was always feeling guilty because I don't have, human children, that people would judge me and say, oh, because you don't have kids, your life, you must
Okay.
have all this freedom. You can do all of these things, but that is definitely not the case. And so I was always trying to prove my value and my worth to everybody else by saying, sure, whatever you can't handle, I'll take on and I'll master that for you. And I was just inwardly resenting all of that. And it started just coming up too much. And I just couldn't take it anymore. And I was on a verge of a nervous breakdown. And I had to start saying, thank you so much for thinking of me and thinking that I could do that. But I just don't have that in the calendar right now. And certainly if something frees up in the future, I'll help you do that. But I just had to learn how to start saying no and
Yeah.
taking agency over my own life.
Yeah.
And that's something I was not good at all. I would listen to, all the things from everybody else because I was maybe almost scared to turn inward and take a good hard look at myself. But I mean, that's the realness. That's the rawness of where I was and who I am and how I've gotten to be here today. So
Yeah. And I love that you pointed to guilt. Althea, who's with us today here, asked us a question, how do you eliminate feelings of guilt for being successful? Okay.
yeah,
And it's like, well, first of all, let's talk about Brene Brown's work because Brene Brown talks about guilt and shame, right? And the
yes,
difference between guilt and shame is guilt is I did something wrong. Shame
yeah,
is I'm a bad person.
that's right.
Okay, there's a big difference.
Yeah.
So feeling guilty that you're successful, um, you've worked hard to be successful. You've worked hard. Sarah and I have both worked hard to get where we are today. You have all worked hard to where you're getting today, and it might not be where you want to be, but you've had to struggle with something and you've worked hard at it. So success is different for different people.
Progress, right? Progress, not perfection,
Right.
right? So
Yeah.
every step that you're making towards whatever it is that you're doing, honor that. Give yourself a pat on the back and say, yeah, maybe I'm not perfect right in the moment, but I'm getting there. Yeah. So I just wanted to shout that out to the ladies out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think for Althea, who asked this question, the gift you have been given in life to have become successful with all your past and your experiences and your challenges, which we all have in our own way, right?
Yeah.
This gift has been given to you for a reason. And I'm going to guess that the reason is that you are a role model for other women. Somehow, somewhere in that workplace, if it's successful in, in your workplace, or it can even be cultural. It can be, for standing up for women. It can be standing up for gay women. It could be standing up for Black women. It could be standing up for Hispanic women. Like whatever it is, there's something there that you have been gifted with, that when you've learned to say no and start to honor yourself, now is the time when you are giving back to others, but not from a place of obligation or societal norms.
Yeah.
This is coming from a place of love, purpose,
Yeah.
passion.
Yeah.
And if you can tap into that, why have I been given this opportunity? Why am I being challenged for being successful? I think you'll answer your own question and you'll say, instead of focusing on the guilt, let me focus on the gift.
Yeah. That's one thing you have always taught me over the last 2 years, that no matter what was going on in my life, right? My wife has had some significant health issues over the last year. There was a lot of movement between, buying a house, selling a house, moving because of some other situations that happened in life. There were a lot of moving parts that were in my life. And you always said to me, Sarah, what is the gift in this situation? What is the lesson that's being taught to you? What is the universe trying to share with you? What's the one positive thing you can take out of all of this? And I think what you've taught me is that my gift happens to be resilience. That no matter what happens to me, I have the choice. I have the choice to do with that what I want. And I can let it tear me down. I can let it break me down. I can let it take me off rails and, go down the deep, dark road of feeling bad and pitying myself and wondering what if, or do I shift my attitude? Because our attitude is so important. It's the way we act, think, react, interact. It's who we are. And do I spin that into a positive way? Do I make the deliberate choice to say, yes, I know this circumstance sucks. What's happening to me is a disaster. I don't like what is happening to me, but I have a choice. I have a choice to either learn and grow from this, or I have a choice to make me a victim. And so I thank you for always pushing me to think that way about the true gift of the thing that might be happening to me.
Yeah. And that goes back to, your morning ritual about, the 3 S's, change what you see, what you smell, and the sounds you hear, right?
Yeah.
It's like, what do I want to pay attention to?
Yeah.
And you talked about, the happiness, and I stuck in a little note in the chat there. This is, happiness is circumstantial, right? I'll be happy when.
Yeah.
I'll be happy when.
Yeah.
Right? When my husband stops this, and when my kids do that, and when exhausting. Whereas joy is an attitude that defies all circumstances. No matter what's happening, I can always turn this around and choose my attitude.
Yeah.
It is ultimately a choice.
Yeah.
And we know that if we want to change the attitude, people say, yeah, but how do I change the attitude? I'm so pissed off right now, or whatever. There are 2 things. Can I remember what my 2 things are? I just had them in my head. One is get up and change your stance. And for women, funny as it is, get up and put yourself in the posture of superwoman.
Yeah, the power pose, Amy Cuddy, right? The power pose, absolutely.
Power pose. Yeah.
Stand there.
And then the other thing is smile, or laughing yoga. Right? It's like you have no choice but to slip into that attitude when you force that. And when I say force it, is just take on the attitude to make it happen. I'm
Yeah.
going to smile. I'm going to put myself in the stance. And the next thing you know, my whole attitude shifts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Simple
Absolutely.
tip.
Simple.
Simple tip.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
know?
Yeah. So what I'm hearing here is that the first thing that we have to do to really ditch the dollhouse and shake up this whole good girl image and the give to everybody else is one, we have to give ourselves permission to say we deserve
Hmm.
to have passions and purpose and not always give to other people. And then it's what step or what thing do you want to incorporate? One thing. It doesn't have to be 12, it doesn't have to be 80. It's one thing. So whether it's you're changing what you see in the morning, what you smell in the morning, what you hear in the morning, or how you go to bed in the evening, or taking a half an hour time to jot down some thoughts and ideas in a journal to start exploring what those passions are. You don't have to be this perfect individual. You don't have to be obedient. You don't have to people please everybody. You can knock down that whole image of a dollhouse and that perfect Barbie life. You can be
Yeah.
who you want to be, how you want to be.
Yeah.
And we're just here to encourage that. Would you agree?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I do want to invite anybody who has any questions. If we're here for 6 weeks, but
Yeah.
if you have anything that you want to direct directly to Sarah or myself, Hake, who's our assistant in the background, will be putting in our emails, and you can certainly reach out to us individually and ask your questions. We're here to support you. We're doing this not because we have to, because it's, women should and women have to. We're doing it because we got up this morning and we said we want to.
Yeah.
Which takes me to the place of a reminder of somewhere in there you talked about, what we need to do in life. And I say whenever this is such an important tip. I want to make sure that you guys hear me. I have learned recently that when I get caught up and overwhelmed or some negative emotion comes up, I'm in a place of what I need to do. And I put everything down and I move over to the place of what do I need right now? It could be a deep breath. It could be a 20-minute nap. And you know how many times my voice has said, women don't nap. Men are the nappers. We don't nap.
What?
Well, I hate to tell you this, but it works. Men know something that we don't know. And
But
maybe that's the test, right? I
yeah.
go to that place of what is it that I need right now? And if I give myself permission to do that for 5 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it is, and
Yeah.
then come back to what I need to do for obligations or whatever, I have shifted. I've learned such tremendous lessons in the last, and I've been doing this for like 20 plus years, right? But even in the last month, I have learned so much about just that one piece.
Yeah.
So I really invite you to try that.
Yeah. Just kind of like regulating your nervous system for a second, taking a
Yeah.
pause and say, "Whew, I don't need to be reactive. I need to come from a place of calm." I find that with my spouse, we're really trying that. Like when we get elevated or we're like in an argument or we're trying to defend each other's sides and we're just not seeing eye to eye, we stop and we say, pineapple. It's like our safe word where we say, wait a second, we've got to take about 20 minutes,
Yeah.
kind of like regroup,
Yeah.
think about what we're contributing to that conversation and then start back over. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's fantastic. Whether it's your own personal overwhelm or whether you're in an argument with somebody or in conflict, it's okay to take 20 minutes and just whew, woosah, right? Just take a
Yeah.
deep breath,
Yeah. Yeah.
come back to a place of calm, and then try it again. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I want to readdress one of the questions that came up, was how do you say no at work or
Mhm.
when work is over? And it's really funny because we think at work, if we don't, we're going to get fired or whatever.
Mhm.
My tip for that, and Sarah, maybe you can join in with one of your tips because working in HR, you're well aware,
Yeah.
is to say, here's, first of all, don't go in when you're in an emotional state to go back and tell somebody no. Okay. You want to make sure that you're in a calm state, that you've worked through this, and even talking to somebody, getting your support system, right?
Yeah.
And then go back and say, here's here's what I have on my plate right now. Here's what I'm able to do, humanly able to do by this time. And I can get to this on this day or this time, whatever. It's like sorting out and saying, this is the reality of things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're not saying no, you're actually positioning it in a way that says, here's what I'm able to do, and here's what I'm, not able to do immediately, but can do it by this time.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that, Sarah?
Oh yeah. So I kind of fell victim where I thought I had to always answer emails after hours and get to people right away. So I would be working through the evening. And I had to finally just say, thank you for the message. Our day ends at 4:30 p.m. I'll be sure to make this top priority first thing in the morning.
Right.
And then that when I would just say that healthy boundary where thank you so much for the message, I'm acknowledging it, but
Yeah.
I'll tackle it in the morning and I'm not going to, dive into your needs or anything like that. I'm giving myself permission to enjoy my evening as well.
Right.
So
You're training.
exactly.
You're training yeah.
What do you say? It doesn't have to come off mean. It doesn't have to come off nasty. It's just thank you. But my day ends at this time. I'll be sure to make that a priority first thing in the morning.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
All right.
I want to jump to one question. There's a lot of questions here, but we'll try to get to as many. But how do you push and motivate yourself? Bobby asked this. How do you push and motivate yourself when you're just tapped out? Well, my first thing is, who made up the rule that you got to push and motivate yourself when you're tapped out? Like, if you're tapped out.
Norm. But that's the thing. That's the norm. That's the pressure. I must do. I have to do. I got to continue.
Yeah.
No, untangle that, unravel that, and give yourself the permission to say, I don't need to push through because you're telling me to. I'm going to push through at my level when I can. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes there are deadlines. Sometimes we have to push through.
Yeah.
So part of that is the mental message that we're giving ourselves. It's not like, I can't do this anymore, but I have to do it. And why are they doing this to me? That anger place. It might be, okay, this is going to be over at 10 o'clock tonight when this event is over or whatever that I'm preparing for. And I've made the decision that I'm okay with doing this right now. Boy, there's a shift in just your attitude, right? And I'm okay. And at 10 o'clock, this is what I'm going to give myself permission to do. And I will. And the other thing is ask for help. I did a leadership program in Spain for a year. And one of the things they did was they blindfolded us and we had these ropes and we had to get out of this maze. And the people who actually got out of the maze were the people who leaned over and asked somebody, can you help me? Oh. And then they said, blindfold off, take your hands and get you out. That's what we learned about leadership. Ask for help. And as women, we must ask for help.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Lillian, we've been on now for 42 minutes. We certainly want to honor everybody's time. Does anybody have any last minute questions that we can address before we end today's session? Let's give everybody just a second here to see if there's anything on there.
Yeah, or even give us some feedback on what you were taking away from this today.
Yeah.
I see Althea shared this morning. I actually looked in the mirror and told myself, I'm ready to be happy. I literally did this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fabulous. I love it. I love when you're taking away. Yeah. Megan, you put in here, I love this. Get used to saying no. Yeah. What are there struggles for you to say no? And what are the struggles? Like what happens? What's going on in your mind? Maybe share that and we can address that. Yeah. So anyway, what we want to do is those who are listening to this after, please put your questions in there. We'll follow up on there and we'll answer some questions. Reach out to us. And very quickly, Sarah, do you want to talk about the bonus prize here for people?
Yeah. So Lillian and I would love to be able to offer our services, which means we would be more than happy for all of you to enter into a drawing and give our time and our expertise, if you will, to come in and give you a free speaking engagement, which is worth $5,000 a piece. And you would get either Lillian or I, whatever you choose on a topic of your choice. We would be more than happy to offer those services to you. So we hope that you all do enter into a drawing. So maybe you've got a women's group or somewhere at work you want to start incorporating some really great conversations. We are happy to help in that arena. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah.
So Hake is going to drop, our assistant is going to drop the link in the comments here as where you can click and register for the draw. The opportunities will come up. If you don't even know what the opportunity is yet, just, create the opportunity. This is where we can all create. And I just want to go back to some of the topics here, or the questions or comments. Love the discussion. Thank you, Megan. I appreciate that. Yes, being vulnerable is important. We've been doing this for a while, or I've been doing it for quite a while. And, there's still lessons for me to learn. And that's what I get out of my clients. Sometimes I hang up the phone and I just go, okay, they got it. Now it's a reminder for me to keep doing that. Right. So it's important that we lean on each other.
Yeah.
Althea was saying, my struggle for saying no aligns with being a people pleaser. Yes. By the way, you're not a people pleaser, Althea. You have a people pleaser saboteur. So you need to have a discussion with that saboteur. Not wanting to disappoint anyone. Oh, wow. What happens if we disappoint people? And disappointment comes from expectations. They have expectations of you. Are they reasonable expectations?
Yeah.
Because the disappointment has been created by them if they're not.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
well, maybe we can tackle some of these questions too in our second episode, which is next week, Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it's called Bias Busters, Debunking the Myths and Owning Your Own Voice. So, Athea, we certainly hope you join us for our second session. We'd love to hear your feedback, and from you, what can we help you with? How can we support you? How can we come together and work together and empower each other to own our own voices, to discover our passions and strengths? But this has been so much fun. I could sit here and talk for days, but I certainly want to honor everybody's time and respect everybody's time. Thank you so much, Lillian. I adore you. And I'm just so honored to work with you. So thank you, everybody. We hope you have an amazing Friday, a great weekend, and we thank you for joining us today.
Yes. Thank you, Sarah. It's a real delight. And I couldn't be off to a better day. The start of my day has been just wild here. So thank you so much. Thank you all for being here. And next week, we'll be talking about imposter syndrome. So if that's one of your questions in here, join us. All right.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you so much, everybody.
Take care.
Bye.